Hey there, Internet, and welcome back to another episode of Rants and Ramblings with this guy. So, I wanted to chat a little bit about vaping. So, as you can see, this vape has gotten a lot of use out of it. It's starting to actually fall apart, but I do have another trusty vape over here. So, why do I want to talk about it? Well, a few years ago, go back to like 4 years ago, I decided to quit smoking and I tried repeatedly. I went on the patch. And actually, even prior to that, I had been smoking for 6 months, quitting for 6 months, smoking for 3 weeks, quitting for a month, just on and off. And I could not quit smoking for the life of me. And that's when I got introduced to vaping. And at the time, vaping was still kind of a new thing. There was, it was starting to be a big thing in China, but it hadn't really come over to North America yet. There weren't many companies that were doing it, but I decided to give it a shot. And back in those days, the only vapes you could get were like the little pen vapes, right? You did not have these like epically massive vapes that you have nowadays. And so I gave it a shot. And it took a little bit of time. That first month I was kind of smoking and I was vaping, going back and forth between the two. But eventually what happened was I actually started to like vaping more than I like smoking. It's similar to if you've ever tried switching from Coca-Cola to Diet Coke. It's different and kind of weird at first, but then it gets to this point where you start to actually like the Diet Coke more than the regular Coke. And that's what I found with vaping. So over the 4 years of vaping, I've always been trying to find the best way to vape, the cheapest way to vape, how to make your coils last the longest, what are all those, the nuances around it. And the first thing I will say is when it comes to actually purchasing vaping equipment, is to get it through fasttech.com. So that's just a website that sells it. I'm not sponsored or endorsed by them, but it's a company out of China and you can get stuff for really cheap. Like this rig here would have cost me about $160, $170 at a store here in town, but I got it from them for about $50. And sometimes you gotta wait 3 to 6 weeks to get stuff shipped, and there's potential for things to get stuck in customs, but these days, when it comes to, stuff like a vape, it's not that big of a deal. I've ordered multiple vapes from them. Don't order your juice from China. Get your juice locally. I get mine, I'm in Canada, so I get it from bargainejuice.ca, and they sell great juice. Miranda is my personal favorite from them, and it's really easy on coils. One of the things that you'll find if you are someone that vapes or if you're just starting out vaping is that there's certain juices that will literally kill your coil in 2 to 3 days. So you're having to replace them all the time. And it's very frustrating. And that's why I really like this Miranda juice from Bargainie Juice, because it'll last me, sometimes I'll get 10 days or 2 weeks out of a coil. And for me, like I'm a pretty heavy vapor. I will vape a lot throughout the day. I work a lot in front of computers. Sometimes I'll work in my home office and I can just vape as much as I want. And in terms of what I get my coils like ohms at, it's usually like a 0.5 is where I try to get that to sit. And then also, from a like watt and voltage standpoint, those things always, they fluctuate. But for the most part, I still keep my volts around 3.3 or 3.7. It tends to make your coils last a lot longer. Like I don't get those massive like clouds that some people get when they're vaping. And, it's not really what I vape for. It's more for the nicotine. I didn't necessarily want to quit smoking because I hated smoking. I just hated how it made me feel like garbage. So with vaping, like when I switched over, it's still, it's not necessarily like you're quitting altogether. But at the same time, I would say with vaping, I started to be able to taste food again. I started to be able to run again and not be like dying, hacking my lungs out. It was actually quite a significant change going from smoking to vaping. And so, that brings me to the next point of the video. Like, what's the point in chatting about this? Well, I have decided that I'm going to quit vaping. So, today I have armed myself with something in case I need it, which is a Nicoderm patch. So if it's required, I'm going to put this patch on, and I will go on the patch for 7 days. I'm going to first try and just do it cold turkey and just stop vaping, but that's what the patch is for, just in case. If I'm not able to, my willpower is not strong enough. I think maybe I'll do it as like a 30-day challenge, although I would like to just stop altogether. They do say, there are some benefits from an attention standpoint of nicotine, and it is a stimulant. But overall, I'm done. I just want to be done. I don't want to, be be essentially having this, monkey on my back, or chasing some nicotine dragon of sorts. I think it's time to just quit. So, that being said, if you love vaping, if you vape, if you're a smoker right now, totally do it. It's awesome. I think vaping's great. But for this guy, I think I am going to quit. So, thanks.